Today's episode of The Real Deal with Damian Adams is brought to you by the 3pointconversion.com. Now, 3Point Conversion is a sports media site where you can get all your sports information as quickly as humanly possible. Faster than the 4-letter network, faster than CBS, Bleacher Report, any sports that you could think of, 3Point Conversion does it the quickest. Not only does it get you updates, it gets you in-depth articles from talented writers from all over the country. We cover football, basketball, baseball, NASCAR, boxing, every sport under the sun. The 3-Point Conversion covers you because the 3-Point Conversion is where fans' opinions matter. Thank you for listening to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. This is Real Sports Talk for the Real Sports Fan. And I definitely appreciate all you real sports fans who are listening right now. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, thank you. Please do not forget to help me out by giving us that 5-star rating at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. That 5-star rating and review will definitely be appreciated. If you're listening on 3-Point Conversion station on Spreaker Radio, thank you. Please give your opinion on the show. Let us know what you think. Is it hot? Is it not? How can I improve? I need your opinion to become great at this. I value it a lot because 3-Point Conversion stations where fans' opinions matter. I'm very excited about today's show. It's a loaded episode. I'm going to get into some boxing. I have an interview with Ashley Nevel, the NBA reporter who's doing big things right now. Of course, we're going to recap NFL Week 3 and preview Week 4. But today is also National One-Hit Wonder Day. So throughout the episode, I'm going to sprinkle in some one-hit wonders just to give you a little joy, bring you back down memory lane a little bit. So before I even get into my spill about boxing and Ashley Nevel and the NFL, and of course a little NBA talk in there as well, we're going to play our first one-hit wonder. This is probably the biggest one-hit wonder of all time. So enjoy this song and we'll be right back.
VIP. Let's kick it. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby. Alright, stop. Collaborate and listen. I sit back with my brand new invention. Something grabs a hold of me tightly. Flow like a harpoon daily and nightly. Will it ever stop? Yo, I don't know. Turn off the lights and I'll glow. To the extreme, I rock a mic like a vandal. Light up a stage and wax a chump like a candle. Dance, crush a speaker that booms. I'm killing your brain like a poisonous mushroom. Deadly, when I play a dope melody. Anything less than the best is a felony. Love it or leave it, you better gain weight. You better hit bullseye, the kid don't play. If there was a problem, yo, I'll solve it. Check out the hook while my DJ revolves it. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby. Jumping with the bass kicked in and the Vegas are pumping. Quick to the point, no faking. Cooking MCs like a pound of bacon. Burning them, you ain't quick and nimble. I go crazy when I hear a cymbal and a hi-hat with a souped up tempo. I'm on a roll, it's time to go solo. Rolling in my 5.0 with my rag top down so my hair can blow. The girl is on standby, waiting just to say hi. Did you stop? No, I just drove by, kept on pursuing to the next stop. I bust a left and I'm heading to the next block. The block was dead, yo, so I continue to A1A. Girls were hot, wearing less than bikinis. Rock men lovers, driving Lamborghinis. Jealous, cause I'm out getting mine. Shade with the gauge and vanilla with the 9. Ready for the chumps on the wall. The chumps acting ill because they're full of 8-ball. Gunshots ranged out like a bell. I grabbed my 9, all I heard was shells falling on the concrete real fast. Jumped in my car, slammed on the gas. Bumper to bumper, the avenue's packed. I'm trying to get away, but for the jack is a jack. Police on the scene, you know what I mean? They passed me up, could run it all the dope beats. If there was a problem, yo, I'll solve it. Check out the hook while my DJ revolves it. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby. I'm a lyrical poet. Miami's on the scene, just in case you didn't know it. My town that created all the bass sound. Enough to shake and kick holes in the ground, cause my style's like a chemical spill. Feasible rhymes you can vision and feel. Conducted and formed, this is a hell of a concept. We make it hype, and you want us to print this. Shape plays on a fade, slice like a ninja, cut like a razor blade so fast. Other DJs say, damn, if a rhyme was a drug, I'd sell it by the gram. Keep my composure when it's time to get loose. Magnetized by the mic while I kick my juice. If there was a problem, yo, I'll solve it. Check out the hook while DJ revolves it. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby. Yo, man, let's get out of here. Word to your mother. Ice, ice, baby, too cold. Ice, ice, baby, too cold. Too cold. Ice, ice, baby, too cold. Too cold. Ice, ice, baby, too cold. Too
cold. Welcome back to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. If you wasn't jamming just now, I don't know what's wrong with you. You can admit that anytime you hear yo VIP, kick it, you start jamming. Word to your mother, you start jamming. We can't deny that. That's a classic right there. So now let's get into a little boxing action. This is our segment I like to call the 1-2. And this is all about boxing. So that's why I call it the 1-2, the famous combination that you always start with. And last weekend we had a big heavyweight bout as Anthony Joshua defended his WBA, IBF, and so many names for these titles I'm starting to forget them. WBA, IBF, what's the other one that he has? WBO, excuse me. So WBA, WBO, and IBF titles against Alexander Povetkin. It was a really good fight. A lot of people were disappointed because he wasn't fighting Deontay Wilder. Some people will tell you they were disappointed because he wasn't fighting Tyson Fury, which makes no sense. The guy's been gone for years and hasn't fought anybody since he came back. But I digress. So Anthony Joshua fought against Alexander Povetkin over at Wembley Stadium. Sold it out. Pretty sure he made like $10 to $15 million. Killing it. You guys support him a lot. In this fight, he did a great job of adjusting. He knew going into the fight that Alexander Povetkin was someone who is a timing fighter. He likes to wait on you to jab so he can counter and come with his big hooks and big uppercuts. And he did catch Anthony Joshua in the first round with a big hook and a big uppercut. Had Anthony Joshua bleeding from the nose. And Anthony Joshua did a good job of adjusting. Instead of just throwing a regular jab out there, he was feinting, so throwing off the timing of Povetkin, and also going to the body with the jab, which did a great job of throwing off the timing as well of Povetkin. And by the 7th round, Povetkin probably wasn't even thinking about that right hand that is so dangerous from Joshua. Joshua connected with it, knocked Povetkin down. Povetkin did manage to get up, but he really wasn't in it at all head-wise. Got knocked back down. Referee stopped the fight. TKO in the 7th round. Good win for Anthony Joshua, but definitely was a good effort from Alexander Povetkin. Now, with that fight being over with, of course the next question is, who will Anthony Joshua fight next? He's already reserved Wembley Stadium for April 13th. So he's fighting on April 13th. Who will he be fighting? And there's been talk for a long time now about Deontay Wilder. Negotiations have been going back and forth. Anthony Joshua has said on occasion that he's going to fight Deontay Wilder when he's ready. That could be now, a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. That's a quote from Anthony Joshua. So I did a video just doing like a recap of the Alexander Povetkin fight. And at the end of it, I said there's no excuse if Deontay Wilder beats if he beats Tyson Fury on December 1st, there's no excuse. There's no mandatories after that, even though you can get around mandatories in boxing. We all know that. So after I do the video, pretty much saying if Anthony Joshua does not fight Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury, next, he's ducking him. He's being a chicken. Man, the Anthony Joshua fans got mad at me. Came after me with the venom. And I'm not even like that big time, so I can't imagine if I was more popular how crazy it would have been. But every comment on the video, you don't know anything about boxing. Anthony Joshua isn't ducking him. Oh, these Americans are so arrogant. I'm an Anthony Joshua fan. That's the crazy part. I actually like Anthony Joshua more than Deontay Wilder because Anthony Joshua is the much more technically sound boxer. But no one listened to that part of it. They just heard me say one thing negative about their king, Anthony Joshua, and got all up in arms, got their pants all in a bunch. Listen to the whole video. Watch the whole video. Listen to what I'm saying. Anthony Joshua is a beast. He's an absolute monster. He still has some holes in his game, but as a boxer, he's definitely further along than Deontay Wilder. And Deontay Wilder is older, so he's never going to be as technically sound as Anthony Joshua. And before the whole drama started of them going back and forth in negotiations, I was leaning towards picking Anthony Joshua in a fight if they had it. But now I'm thinking that Joshua may be scared of the power that Wilder has. I do believe Wilder is the more powerful puncher of the two. But because Joshua has the better technique, he can still win that fight. And he also has devastating power, obviously, having only one fight that went the distance. And the reason that fight went the distance with Joseph Parker is that, it was horribly refereed. It just was a fight that wasn't really appeasing to the eye, very chunky, didn't have a flow to it. But with a fight against Wilder, don't expect it to go the distance. Either one of them is going to get knocked out, right? So it's going to be exciting. And the boxing public wants that fight. Not just Americans, but everybody wants that fight. And for people saying they want to see him fight Tyson Fury, if Tyson Fury beats Deontay Wilder, then he's earned that shot. Now, has he earned the shot against Deontay Wilder? Probably not. Like I said, he's been gone for 2+ years. He comes back and fights nobodies, like people who aren't even heavyweights, and gets a shot against Deontay Wilder just because of his name. And Deontay Wilder didn't have a choice. He needs to fight someone with a big name after Joshua, gave him a stiff arm pretty much to fight Povetkin. Anthony Joshua, the reason he's able to duck and dodge Deontay Wilder is because you fans over there in England, as by proven by the reaction to my video, are going to back him no matter what. Right? Because people are like, well, he called out Deontay Wilder after the fight. He did that after the Joseph Parker fight as well. What resulted from that? So the fact that you guys are coming at me crazy because I said one thing negative about your king just proves that he's able to do whatever he wants because you guys are going to support him no matter what. It's excellent that you guys are such big boxing fans. The reason Deontay Wilder isn't as big as Anthony Joshua is because he's not from over there. If he was knocking people out the way he's knocking people out and he was from England, he would be just as big. So when people say Deontay Wilder isn't selling out stadiums, of course he's not, because he's in America where boxing is the 4th, 5th biggest sport. You have so many other options. Overseas, you got soccer, boxing, cricket, freaking, what else? A bunch of other stuff that isn't going to be up to the par of soccer and boxing. So when boxing is your second biggest sport, of course your boxing stars are going to be bigger stars over there than they are going to be in America. Unless you're Floyd Mayweather and you can find a way to beat the system that way. So Anthony Joshua better fight the winner of Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury. If he doesn't, he's ducking. He's being scared. And you guys need to hold him accountable for that. Don't just be fanboys. Hold him accountable for his actions. Don't just give him $15 million for fighting anybody. Don't get me wrong, Povetkin was a very strong candidate. There's a reason why he was the #1 contender under the WBA. But there's better fighters out there. Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua are running out of opponents because they haven't fought each other. So there's no need for him to be ducking this guy. But I do have a special one-hit wonder song for all you guys who came at me crazy on my YouTube comments just because I said one thing negative about your king, Anthony Joshua. And I do apologize if Mano has more hits than High Hater. but it's definitely his biggest one by far. So I'm going to play that for you guys as we continue this theme of one-hit wonders. And like I said, he probably does have more hits than this, so I apologize if I'm offending the Mano fans, but it's definitely his biggest one. So we're going to play that song and we'll be right back.
Mano, yeah, look at him acting like you don't even see me, man. Yeah, I run up on him like, you see me? Hustle hard, stack paper, it's alright. Y'all haters, it's nothing. We major, you see me? High hater, high hater, high hater. You see me? High hater, high hater, high hater. You see me? High hater. Yeah, dollar bill, y'all, lot of bills, y'all. New year trying to touch me a meal, y'all. Came up now, I'm what's up now. When you shine, all these haters wanna talk down. I don't feel away by what people say. It's alright, love, I let a hater hate. Pull up on them, see the paper plate, see the oyster perpetual band-aid. It's a fact, right? How they act right, how they smile in your face, then they backbite. I just laugh, right? Make them mad like, watch them turn around and say, ain't that nice? Getting bread though, man. Seems like they don't love you till you dead, yo. Let them talk, dog, it don't faze me. It might not be right if they don't hate me. Hustle hard, stack paper, it's alright. Y'all haters, it's nothing. We major, you see me? High hater, high hater, high hater. You see me? High hater, high hater, high hater. You see me? High hater, let them see me. High hater, pull off easy. Bye hater, you don't like me? Why hater? Won't you tell them how mad I make ya? I ain't caught up in all the hot talk. Caddy on white, call it Scott Storch. You don't feel me? Ice grill me? Hate so bad, you wanna kill me? What it be, dog? We getting money here. Wanna snitch, man? Get us 100 years? That's sad, dog. Why you mad for? Is it the face on my shit, dog? Why you like that? That ain't right, black. We balls out in the club, you don't like that? You know you like that. You wanna be me? Why you twisting up your face when you see me? Hustle hard, stack paper, it's alright. Y'all haters, it's nothing. We major, you see me? High hater, high hater, high hater. You see me? High hater, high hater.
Welcome back to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. Hopefully you enjoyed that High Hater by Mano as we continue the one-hit wonder theme. Like I said, I do apologize if Mano got more hits than that. I just can't think of any at this point right now. So let's get into a little NBA. Jimmy Butler is demanding a trade from the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is a crazy situation because Minnesota went out and got Jimmy Butler. They went and traded for him from Chicago. He was unhappy there. Now he's unhappy here. And it's going to look like Jimmy Butler is a diva. In the Chicago situation, he wasn't happy with the coach. Didn't like his coaching style. Here, he's unhappy with the players. He doesn't think that Andrew Wiggins and maybe even Karl Anthony Towns have heart. They don't want to win. They playing more for the money. And Karl Anthony Towns just got paid. Like Johnny Kemp said. Another one-hit wonder right there. He got the max 5 years, super max 5 years, $190 million. So he's the future. They've already invested in Karl Anthony Towns. Andrew Wiggins got a contract, was it last year or the year before, of a max deal as well. So they've invested in those two guys. Those two guys are the cornerstones. Jimmy Butler was supposed to be the piece that got them over the top. Now, if you remember last season, before Jimmy Butler had the knee injury, they were up at the top of the Western Conference fighting with Portland for that third seed. Now, once Jimmy Butler got hurt, they fell back down and they squeaked into the playoffs once he came back. So obviously he was a big part of their success last season. If he leaves and they don't get something major for him, they might not even make the playoffs this year because we have not seen any evidence from Karl Anthony Towns or Andrew Wiggins to make us not believe the complaints that Jimmy Butler has. So it's hard for me to say Jimmy Butler is a diva when in both situations he may be right. So just because he speaks out on what is going on doesn't make him a diva. Now he could try to be a better teammate and try to work out a situation instead of demanding a trade. And he wants to go to either New York, Brooklyn, or LA. But there's other teams interested. There's been reports about Houston, among many teams. Jimmy Butler is a all-star, great two-way player, someone that you definitely want on your team, any team. I wish the Pelicans had the pieces to go get him, but we don't. So I'm not going to choose a side on this one, but I definitely can see where Jimmy Butler is coming from. And the two players in question that he's questioning have not shown us anything on the contrary of what he's saying. So how can we go against Jimmy Butler and say, oh, he's a diva? Just because he, maybe put an inappropriate comment under Gabrielle Union's picture? Nah, he's a different type of cat who's going to speak his mind. And I don't mind that. He's going to be honest. He's saying these cats don't have heart. They don't play the way you're supposed to play if you want to win. And we saw that once he got hurt, they went to losing. And those two guys are supposed to be superstars. They're getting paid like superstars. But they can't carry a team without Butler. Like I said, he went from the 3rd seed to the 8th seed once he got hurt last year. So obviously he was, I wouldn't say carrying them, but he was a big part of what was going on. And he even took a dip in scoring. So he sacrificed his stats for the team and still had a major impact on how they won. And I'm pretty sure he still loves Coach Tibbs. Coach Tibbs probably, put his neck out there for him to get him. So that's another aspect of it where he can maybe try to make it work for Coach Tibbs as well. But if you see a situation where the two cornerstones, of the franchise aren't there to win, and you can't see yourself winning with them, I don't mind him asking out. In Chicago, he saw an opportunity or a lack of opportunity, where he knew, I can't win here. And I believe he's 28 now, so he's still in his prime, but time goes fast. And he wants to get a championship. So I don't mind him fighting for that championship. And got to get into some funny stuff from Media Day. My man, Kawhi Leonard, the laugh heard around the world. I don't know if I can even imitate it. I have a goofy laugh myself, so I feel for him when he let out that goofy laugh. It was something like that. It was a bad imitation. But I'm really looking forward to what he's going to do this year. One of the big storylines I'm looking forward to. And I had an interview with Ashley Nevel last week that I'm about to play now, where we talk about her upbringing in the business, what she's doing now. You can check out her recent interview she did on Media Day with the Phoenix Suns on her YouTube channel at Ashley Nevel. And she just has a good energy about her. She brings good vibrations, if you will. So before we get into the Ashley Nevel interview, we're going to play one more one-hit wonder. Now, this guy has been much more successful as an actor than he was a rapper. And he doesn't like to be reminded of his rapping days, but it was a good hit. So we're going to play Good Vibrations by Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Then right after that, we're going to bring on Ashley Nevel.
On the rhythm around that's designed to make it behind you. You want to incline to pure hip hop.
Welcome back to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. Thank you for staying with me and listening so far. I'm very excited about this segment of the show. I have a very special guest joining us, Miss Ashley Nevel. She is an NBA reporter, someone who is very talented, very good at what she does, and she always brings joy to interviews and whatever she's doing out there in the sports media world. How you doing, Ashley?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for the introduction. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. You know, I'm always glad to have good guests on the show. It always puts me in a better mood, you know.
That's good. Anything I can do to make you in a better mood, that is great.
Appreciate it. And for people who may not be familiar with you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I've been covering the NBA now for a couple years. I've been doing sports broadcasting for 7 years. And I kind of just got started on my own, you know, just kind of going to different events, going to different sports career fairs and meeting people and just building, you know, my network and doing internships, of course, and then now just kind of doing different freelance stuff. So doing a lot of my own things, creating my own content, and then different companies will use it, pay for it. Whatever, you know, they want to do with it. And yeah, I mean, it's been a long journey to this point, but that's basically what I do. I mean, I've covered, you know, Arizona basketball and football at U of A in Tucson. I've covered the WNBA, the Suns, the NBA Summer League, bunch of AAU stuff. So yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of stuff over the past 7 years. So it's been a great experience so far.
And have you always wanted to be a NBA reporter or a sports reporter, period, or is it something that you stumbled upon later in life?
I would say I wanted to do it maybe when I got to college. I knew I always loved basketball. I never really played. I was more of a girly girl. I loved, you know, cheerleading, dance. And then when I got to college, I mean, I've always watched basketball, you know, and I got to college, and I really kind of just fell in love with the game on a different level. I liked what went behind it. I liked the commentary. I liked, you know, learning a little bit more of what goes into, you know, basketball and broadcasting. And I knew I always wanted to, do something where I'm talking to people, where I'm out there. I wanted to interact with people in some way, so I didn't know exactly if it was sociology or broadcasting or communications. I wasn't sure. And then I kind of just put the two together, and I'm like, okay, I need to do sports broadcasting. And my niche is obviously in basketball, preferably. I've done football, I've done volleyball. I mean, I've covered almost every sport, but it's basketball that is true passion and a love for mine. Whether it's at the college level, the high school level, women's basketball. I mean, I just love the game. And most of my work is catered to basketball. But, yeah, I mean, I could do other things. You know, people always say you need to be multidimensional and do more. And it's like, you know, I've already done all those things. And I think you get to a point where you need to be a little bit more picky. You know, you can't do, you know, a bunch of things for the rest of your life. I think it's important to narrow it down and become an expert in one field. You know, everyone's different. Some people prefer to be, you know, just kind of average, I guess you could say, in multiple fields, or a little bit above average in multiple fields. But for me, I would rather be an expert in one and then kind of just learn as I go with the other stuff. So it really just depends. But yeah, basketball has been my main passion, and I actually started really tuning in to NBA League Pass when I was in college, because I think I got maybe my sophomore or junior year. All of my friends ended up transferring back home to Chicago and went to other schools in the Midwest. And literally, when I say all of my friends left me. They all just, you know, it just wasn't for them. I mean, it's totally different than the Midwest and Arizona, so they left, and that allowed me to really discover who I was and what I enjoyed doing. And I realized, you know, on weekends when I could be partying, I was sitting in my dorm or not my dorm, but my apartment, watching NBA League Pass all night. You know, I would go to school all day, and I would go train, and then I would come home, and I would watch League Pass from like 4 o'clock until like 10:30, 11 o'clock. That's what I did all day, every day. And that's where my love truly started just growing even more. It's just the beauty of sports and like the beauty of basketball and obviously the culture behind it. Yeah, and I just like fell in love with it. That's literally all I did with my time was, you know, cover U of A basketball, football, and then watch League Pass. And then that's kind of what I did with my life. I know it sounds super exciting, but I just enjoyed it.
I definitely understand that. And let's take it back a little bit. You mentioned that you're from Chicago and you ended up out here in Arizona. What made you make that transition from the Midwest out here to the desert?
There were a lot of schools recruiting my high school. I went to a really good high school. It was like at one point top 3 in the country. I don't know if it is anymore. This place is like a college campus. I kid you not. It is very huge. There's like 2 huge buildings. There's a parking garage being built there now. Wish they would have had that when I was there, but yeah, so they were recruiting. There was a couple schools that were main targets for my high school. Arizona was one of them, ASU, Kansas, Indiana, Iowa State, Iowa, who else? Colorado. I'm trying to think. Ohio State. I know Indiana was a big one. I know a ton of people that went to Indiana from my high school. But for me, I got into Kansas, U of A, Colorado, DePaul, and Indiana. So DePaul is like a smaller, I think it's a private school actually. It might be a religious school as well, but they have a really good broadcast department, and it would have been, you know, right smack in downtown Chicago, which would have been great. But after visiting, I realized, you know, Arizona, it's warm. I liked like how hot it was, and I couldn't, you know, I was in Chicago for 18 years of my life. I was so over the cold, and, you know, because when it's so cold and it gets dark all the time there so early, it's, like, depressing. So I wanted to be somewhere that was just, like, upbeat and uplifting, and I wanted to change, you know, because everyone went to Indiana. I was like, I don't want to be around my high school all over again. I want a change. And I do try to encourage people to, when they can, move. You know, go around the country, like, go places, like, go somewhere new, step outside your comfort zone. And, you know, there was a small period of time when, like, I didn't love being in Tucson, because it was different. But I eventually learned to love it out there. You know, it had its ups and downs. It's not like ASU, because you have, you know, Scottsdale and, like, all these nice areas around here. Tucson's it's different. It's more, like, low-key. But, yeah, my top 2 schools were actually U of A and Kansas. And, of course, what do they both have in common is basketball. So that's, like, another thing that was super important to me, was going to a school that embraced sports and that kind of culture. And, like, I really wanted to be around that atmosphere where, you know, you can go to a football game and, like, have a really good time and your team would be really good. And same thing with basketball. And it just so happens when I went to school there, basketball, football, baseball, and softball were all amazing at the time. Now things have changed. U of A is, 0-2 now to start the football season, and they got, like, destroyed last weekend. So that was definitely something I never saw in my day going there. Thank God. Maybe I brought good luck. I don't know. But, you know, that was those were the top 2 schools, and I actually, you know, I'm happy with my decision, because I think that out here brought me a lot of opportunity. And, you know, Kansas would have probably done the same. But, again, Kansas gets cold, and it has tons of storms. I wanted somewhere that's, you know, warm, different, and just like a different culture. You know, it's way different than the Midwest out here. And I really wanted to embrace something new. So that's kind of why I came out here. I don't really tell my story that much, but yeah, that's why.
I definitely echo those sentiments about going and traveling and experiencing different things. And I definitely relate to the cold weather. I spent 2 months in Illinois. So your 18 years is, you know, towers over my 2 months. But after those 2 months, I was done. I was in the Navy for boot camp. And boot camp in the Navy is in Great Lakes, which is like an hour north of Chicago. And after those 2 months, from October to December, I was like, never again. I'm originally from Louisiana, so I had only seen snow twice before I went up there for boot camp, and then to get there and see snow every day, I quickly got over it. It was no longer exciting, and I was like, okay, yeah, I've experienced my cold weather for my life, and one of the reasons I'm here in Arizona as well is that I definitely can't, do the cold weather anymore. So I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I was over that. I couldn't deal anymore. But I mean, Chicago is so beautiful in the summer. It's just, the winters are just long. But yeah, the summertime, there's nothing beats it, especially when you're in the city. There's so many, it's different than out here. In the summer, you can't really go and eat outside out here. So I don't like that. The one part out here I do not like is how hot it gets. But to me, it definitely beats the negative temperatures, having to wear all these jackets and bundle up. Yeah, it was too much for me, for sure.
Now, you've gotten to interview a lot of people in the NBA, from Steve Kerr to PJ Tucker, Solomon Hill most recently I've seen. A lot of different people. Do you have an interview that stands out to you?
Ooh, that's a great question. Interview that stands out to me. Well, I really loved Myers Leonard. And, just not just in the sense, I can give you my top two. Myers Leonard in the sense that he was just so fun and he matched my energy, or actually I matched his. He was just so goofy. And I don't think a lot of people know that about him, is how goofy of a guy he is, because he's not one of those guys that he's not like a Damian Lillard or a CJ. He doesn't get as much attention as those guys. But, I could totally see them having a pretty good season. And, Drew told me that his confidence has grown over the past couple of years, especially this summer. So that was something that I saw, is okay, I've never met this guy in person. I've seen him play, but I never met him. And just his energy, his just positive vibes, he was a good guy. And super funny. He was making everyone laugh and making Jason Tatum laugh, and seeing that guy laugh. He doesn't laugh often. He's very serious. But that was a great interview because he just matched my type of vibe, my energy for the interviews. And then let me see. I'm trying to think of all the people I've interviewed. I might need to go back and go check. Let's see. Steve Kerr was a great interview, of course, because he's also very fun and very sarcastic. And he went to U of A, so obviously, got to put him there in the top. Let's see if there's anybody else. It's a hard question when it's on the spot like that. I have to go check my social media to see if there's someone I'm missing, because I don't want to miss anybody. But I would say those two probably stand out to me the most. Steve Kerr also because, he played on the Bulls, and I grew up in Chicago in the 90s, so that was my team. And being able to actually talk to him in person it was very special to me. It was just something that I've always dreamed of, is talking to him and, seeing what he did not only as a player, as a broadcaster, but also as a coach and all the other organizations that he worked for in the front office. This guy is just one of the coolest guys ever, and he just gets it. That's what makes him such a good coach, is that he's able to relate to all his athletes and his players and his coaching staff. He relates to them on a personal level, and you get that in the interviews. He's just goofy, he's silly, he likes to have fun, and that's what it should be about. Basketball is supposed to be fun. Sports should be fun, not serious. And and that's the thing that I really loved about talking with Steve, is just he's not super serious. He's very fun. And I think that's what makes him such a special person. So yeah, I would say Steve Kerr in terms of enlightenment, in terms of having stuff in common, and in terms of just him being a really good guy, and then Myers Leonard in terms of just being really funny.
And you mentioned that you bring a funny, goofy style to your interviews. Has it always been a point of emphasis for you to make sure you bring that fun to the interview?
Yeah, because there's been so many companies and people trying to tell me to be a certain way, and that way is not doing what I'm doing. And for so long, it's something that we learn, in broadcast journalism school, is They show you this old way of reporting of what it should be and what they think that people want. But I like to cater to the people that I know are going to be watching my stuff. And social media now is the name of the game. And of course, TV is still there too. But I think that we need to bring more of an element of fun and silly and different, because anyone can ask a simple question of, what did you guys need to do to improve, coming into the second half? Like, anyone can ask that question. Like, that's a dumb question. If you're watching the game, you can see, all right, that team had this amount of turnovers. That is what, why they're in such a deficit right now. The turnovers cost them points, like, whatever. So, like, for me, can you imagine the response Greg Popovich would provide if during a timeout someone interviewed him and said, hey, Pop, I just want to know, what else do you like to do besides coach basketball? And I bet you his response would be a lot lighter and better than what he gives these reporters now. And that's what people just don't get, is that all these I don't want to say it's so old school, but a lot of these companies really need to get with the times, because who we're catering to now is the millennial group. The millennials are always on their phone. They're always looking for video, always looking for content. And those are the people we need to cater to. They have very short attention spans. They like to watch stuff that's more fun, more intriguing. And that's always been kind of a point of emphasis for me. And it was really hard for a long time to be able to be myself. I was never able to truly start to shine until actually like the last year. The past year, I've had a lot of, amazing people in my life who kind of pushed me and said, listen, like, you need to be yourself. You need to show people who you really are, and you need to embrace that and enjoy that, because no one is like you. No one is going to be like you. We're all different in our own way. So that was something that I think it's just finding what you want to do, what works for you, what style is best for you, because what works for me might not work for a Doris Burke or for a Kristen Ledlow or for a Rachel Nichols. Everyone kind of has to find their own style. You need to stand out and be a little different. And for me, what stands out is, okay, I don't want to wear a typical outfit, a nice outfit on camera. I want to be dressed more chill in gym clothes, because we're talking to athletes here. They're in gym clothes. Like, why do I have to come in there dressed up in a suit to ask them fun questions? Like, what's the point? There's no point. I like to get my hair done. I like to, experiment with different braids and different ponytails and, like, different buns, and I just like to be different. And then also, too, like, if I want to throw in, like, a little swear word here and there, because it's just natural. It's just how we talk. I don't want to always be so uptight and so conservative in my interviews, because I also feel that turns people off because it's not authentic. So for me, being myself, I think, was the key in all of this. And I don't think I would have gotten some of the interviews that I've gotten or the responses that I've gotten if I was any other type of way. And, to get Jason Tatum to interview with me was huge, because his trainer had said, you're probably not going to get Jason Tatum. You can get anyone else you want after practice, but Jason Tatum's probably going to say no. And I knew that going in, and that didn't stop me from asking him anyway. He was sitting there. I walked up to him after my interview with Solomon Hill, and I've known Solomon for a long time, so I can basically get interviews with any U of A guy I want, because U of A were a close-knit group. We're all very helpful with each other. So after that, I walked up to Jason Tatum, and I was like, hey, you mind if I'm like, I know you probably are going to say no, but, I would love to get an interview with you. I'll keep it fun, light, and then, kind of ask me, who do you work for, like, what do you do, whatever. And he was like, I don't want to give an interview, but I will. So I was like, all right, that's better than saying no. So I'm like, let's do this. I'm going to keep it light, keep it short. And that's exactly what I did. And, maybe it was helpful that I wasn't dressed up like a reporter, quote unquote. I was wearing like a Super Mario Kart shirt and my yoga pants and like I think I was wearing my Jordan slides or whatever. Like, I was just dressed, just super relaxed, and that's the kind of setting we were in. So for me, yeah, just being myself, getting those interviews. Same thing with, Mike Bibby. He already knows me. I've known him for a couple years already. We train at the same gym. I wanted to kind of let all those rumors die down of people thinking he's taking drugs because he's so swole. So I was like, getting caught up in his face. He goes, I'm like, hey, if I can interview real quick. He's like, I'm out of here. I'm like, I'm going to walk with you. We're going to get this we're going to do a selfie style interview. And what's crazy enough, those interviews for me get the most views as opposed to the ones that are just, all scheduled with these fancy schmancy cameras and a nice set. I mean, that interview got already 66,830 views.
Oh, wow.
And it got 1,780 likes. Yeah. So that's just the crazy part is those kinds of interviews are, to me, just way more authentic, way more natural. It makes people feel as if they are there watching it or they're in person watching it as opposed to the whole setup. So that just goes to show of, like, my style of going around and using, a selfie stick or just using the camera on my phone and just talking into it. And, I think it just goes to show of, what I'm doing is working for me. And I'm not going to, stop doing it. I don't see any signs of me letting up anytime soon.
Yeah, we definitely don't want that. We all enjoy your content. And you brought up social media. You are very big on social media. How, for people out there who aspire to do what you do, or even someone who's already in a position just trying to improve their social media presence, how are you so good on social media?
Well, it wasn't always this way. If you go back in time and watch some of my stuff, I didn't really have a lot of interviews. I was more so producing content in a studio that was, fancy, and then I would write, different, put shows together. I basically considered my show to be the Jump Junior, the Jump 2.0, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but it was funny because I used to produce, the show, the Nevel Update, during the season, and it was funny because we would post it Monday morning, and then I would see what the Jump was talking about that afternoon. It was the same stuff. The only difference was I didn't have famous people on there talking the game with me. But if I did, it almost would have been like the same show. And it just went to show, like, oh my God, like, I can produce a show easily. I could produce a show on ESPN, and it just made me realize, like, yeah, like, I'm right up there with them. I might not have as much experience, as many years under my belt, but made me realize, oh wow, like, I can do this too. So for me, social media was just being consistent, and making sure that you're talking about things that people want to hear about. Also, my funny twist, I would be funny. I would have, like, a mixture of funny stuff, the selfie interviews, or the selfie, basically doing selfie videos and being funny. And then I would also have some stuff in my studio. So it was a little bit of mix of stuff. But, yeah, just being consistent, figuring out, like, what part of you want to showcase and stay true to who you are. And even, like, just be engaging with other people, comment on other people's stuff. Whether it's athletes, other commentators, sometimes I'll DM people and say, hey, like, I love this, like, content or whatever, or, just being present, not just, posting and then getting off of social media, but, like, actually seeing what's working for other people, what they're doing, and maybe try to take bits and pieces of certain things. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a long road, for me. Thankfully, the NBA Summer League took a chance on me. They hired me in like December or January to do content for them. So thankfully, that went down and I was able to do stuff for them and then get into the Summer League. But, yeah, just being consistent, reaching out to people, sending over your stuff to people who, make business decisions and showing them what you have and maybe, to break down doors that way. But yeah, for me, being consistent and staying true to yourself.
And we met at a Phoenix Mercury game, and you talked about how even though you're primarily an NBA reporter, you still want to show your support for the WNBA. Why is it important for you to do that?
Well, I'm a woman, and those are women, and those are very talented women who I think deserve a lot more respect and attention than they get. They're just, for me, it's just breaking into such a male-dominated industry for me is very hard. I can only imagine them having to, go up against the NBA and all these other sports leagues that are predominantly men. I think women, we still have a long way to go to get the respect that we deserve. I think it's getting better than what it used to be, but I think it's also something that I'm ready, to put my foot down and show my support. It's so much fun. I love basketball. If you love basketball and you're a true fan of the sport, then it doesn't matter if it's men or if it's women playing. You're going to enjoy it regardless. And, yeah, the game's a little different. I mean, you're not going to be seeing a ton of dunks in a WNBA game. But that's fine. You're going to see more skill. You're going to see, different things. I mean, there are little differences that I noticed, but I still like watching both. And watching the Mercury this year, thankfully, they allowed me to have credentials to come in and show and cover and show my support, and I had so much fun. I love that they're a very evolved league as well, just like the NBA. They're very open, and they're very inclusive to other people. I really enjoyed that. And it's just, the players are just so fun to talk to. I love how after every game, they're interacting with people on the sidelines, and they're interacting with the fans, throwing T-shirts out, taking pictures. It's way different than the NBA. They kind of play the game and then leave the court. The WNBA will stay there. They'll talk to you. They'll thank you for coming out. They'll thank you for supporting. I just thought it was way more relaxed and just so much fun. And I think people that hate on the WNBA just haven't gone to a game. They're just very close-minded. But I do think it's gonna change. And I think that the support of the NBA and those players, Isaiah Thomas and Chris Paul and LeBron James speaking out and saying different things, I think is gonna, be better for the WNBA. And I really hope that people start to watch. I mean, I was even watching, the NCAA women's basketball, and it was just this year was just incredible. Just the competitiveness and just the amount of skill these women have. I wish, more men would understand, how much fun it actually is to watch. But, yeah, I definitely encourage, watching more of the NCAA women's basketball and WNBA. It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've been, preaching for a while, is even before I started covering the Phoenix Mercury, is that when you watch these women play, especially, I've been spoiled the last 2 seasons of being able to watch players like Diana Taurasi night in and night out. When you watch someone with that much skill, their gender goes out the window. You're like, okay, that's a basketball player right there. Like, Diana Taurasi is just a baller. And when you see someone like her and Brittany Griner and DeWanna Bonner ball out every night and going against the Candace Parkers and Elena Delle Dons of the world, the fact that they can't dunk honestly doesn't matter. Like, you're not going to see a windmill on a fast break, but you're still going to see someone get crossed up. You're going to see someone like Christy Tolliver pulling up from 3 feet behind the three-point line, swishing it like she's Steph Curry. Like, you're going to have those type of skill sets. So, like you said, if you like basketball, if you truly love the sport like we do, you're going to appreciate the WNBA if you truly give it a chance. So I definitely agree with you there. Now, this past weekend we had the Basketball Hall of Fame ceremony. A loaded class, included people like Jason Kidd and Grant Hill, Steve Nash, Ray Allen, among others. Who was your favorite player from this Hall of Fame class to watch, back when we were growing up?
It's so hard. Such a hard question. I mean, obviously Steve Nash holds a special place in my heart. Also because he played for the Suns. So he was drafted by the Suns. So I kind of needed, I've been here long enough to the point where I can say that I'm a Suns fan. Even though I'm a reporter, I'm neutral though. I'm not just like a fan. I mean, I'm a fan of all the teams, but the Suns do hold a special place in my heart. Because I've been out here. But I think Steve Nash's all-around skill for the game. His handles, his footwork was just unreal to watch. His passes. I'm like, how did you know he was going to be there at that time? And just the way he drove into traffic and then would dish the ball back out, it was just unreal. I've never seen anything really like it. But he was also a good shooter. So he was a guy that, like, I feel like, there was this one thing that was kind of circulating where it said, if Steve Nash was on the Warriors instead of Steph Curry, do you think they still would have won championships? And, like, I have to say yes. Just because of everything that he brought to the table. And I think people just undervalue his shooting. He could shoot. He just was more of the passer. He scored points, but, he was a guy that was going to set his teammates up for plays. So, gotta say Steve Nash on that one. But then, I gotta show love to all the other guys. I gotta show love to Grant Hill. One of those guys that you can always expect to throw up some, monster dunks throughout the game, have some crazy blocks. Ray Allen, can't forget, that shot that he made in the finals. Was that in
2013?
Was that in 2006? No, that was 2000. What year was that in? That was
you talking about with Miami?
2000. Miami.
Oh, 2013.
When was that? 2013. You're right. I don't know why I said 2006. 2013. When they were tied at 95, I believe, with like 6 seconds left. He was just one of the best shooters that we've ever seen. Ray Allen's up there with the top shooters, absolutely. So he's another guy I got to show love to. And then, of course, Jason Kidd, who almost averaged a triple-double throughout his career. Another one of those guys who had some of the most ridiculous passes I've ever seen. He was a mix between a shooting guard and point guard, so he can also shoot it. So, man, I don't know if I could just choose one. I got to show love for all these guys. But I think I'm going to give the edge to Steve Nash just because of his finesse. I have never really seen anything quite like him, and I do feel like you could have put him on the Warriors, and I do think he would have won a championship with them.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think his play style, especially in today's game, would go hand in hand with Steph Curry's. And yeah, he didn't have the range of Steph, but who does? So I think that
not many people.
So I think that his playing style would fit perfectly with Steve Kerr's system, and yeah, he would definitely fit well. I was at a sports bar the other day, and they were showing an old Suns game, I think from '06 when they played Dallas in the playoffs, and it was just seeing Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire and Sean Marion and those guys just romping down that court, and how fast they would get in and out of their actions. And you mentioned how he would go into pick and rolls and find people that you were like, how did he see that guy? Steve Nash was definitely phenomenal. For my favorite player from this class, I would go with Grant Hill. Just remember watching Grant Hill when he was younger in his Pistons days. It's right when I started really understanding basketball. And after Jordan retired to play baseball, I was young. I remember Grant Hill was the guy who was branded as the next Jordan or the next guy. And to live up to those expectations those first 6 years in Detroit before the injuries, he was a monster, man. He was someone he was like a poor man's LeBron. When you think about what he brought to the court with his size, his ability to dunk on people, going to the goal, had a nice mid-range jumper. His three-point jumper came in later in his career when he played with the Suns and played with Steve Nash for a little bit. And his ability to pass the rock at his size was unmatched at that time. So Grant Hill would be my favorite, but like you said, it's really hard to choose. Ray Allen, one of the greatest shooters of all time, also underrated in his ability to drive to the goal as well in his younger years with the Bucks. Jason Kidd, awesome defender. I think that's the one part that's underrated about Jason Kidd's game is how good he was on defense. Awesome class, man. So, yeah, like you said.
I was watching some other stuff today with Grant Hill and just watching him cross up Scottie Pippen, one of the best defenders. It's fun to just relive those moments because, in the 90s, in 1994 when, he was drafted, I was only 3 years old. So I couldn't truly, appreciate, the 90s basketball. I knew what was going on because it was all over my household. Bulls this, Bulls that, Chicago Bulls, it was all Chicago sports in my household at that time. But I couldn't truly love or appreciate what was going on then because I was so young. But going back and being able, thankfully we have the internet, and thankfully we're able to do research and be able to rewatch and relive what these guys did on the court. and it was just, spectacular to see. I think every year it keeps getting, the NBA keeps getting better and better, to be honest. I wish that some of these guys were still playing. It's kind of getting sad to me. These guys that were just inducted into the Hall of Fame, and then, and it's crazy because Ray Allen, I kept feeling like every year he maybe was going to come back, but I guess not. And, it's scary to me because all these guys are retiring. It's making me sad, Ginobili's gone. Tim Duncan's gone. I think, was it Boris Diaw who also said that he's retiring?
Yeah.
A bunch of Spurs guys. Who's next? Vince Carter, Dirk, Dwayne Wade. I'm not ready for it. Just thinking about it makes me so sad. But thankfully, the NBA, never stops, and there's going to be a whole new class next year, and then a whole new class, in 2 years. So, and the talent's just getting better. I mean, these kids are just. I think I saw a video today. This kid literally just had to step up a little bit to dunk the ball. I'm like, man, I need a step stool to reach anything that's over 5 feet. And these kids are just incredible, just crazy talent. They're all, really working on that 3-point shot because we've seen how important that is in the game of basketball now, is that 3-point shot. So, it's just been crazy. It's just, that was a strong class, like you said, but yeah, you'll take Grant, and I'm gonna take me some Steve Nash.
No, I definitely can't be mad at that. And you mentioned how the talent is just improving each and every year, and we have another great year coming up. What teams are you looking forward to seeing this upcoming season?
Well, number one, the Phoenix Suns, obviously. Gotta take the Phoenix Suns. I'm really excited to see DeAndre Ayton in action with Devin Booker and all those cats. I'm so excited. During the whole process, interviewing DeAndre, him basically saying that he's going to go to the Suns, and then hearing what Josh Jackson and Devin had to say about him, because they already knew him previously. They were already friends with him. So it was kind of like, to me, a lock. I knew all along he was going to go number one. There was never really a doubt in my mind. So I'm really excited to see all the new pieces that they've added, with Trevor Ariza. And I really am expecting a good season from the Suns. The West is super hard, though. So it's going to be really difficult for them to make it to the playoffs. I think there's going to be some other teams that are very surprising to people. But, the Lakers I'm excited to see, obviously, because of LeBron. I'm really looking forward to seeing how he meshes with some of those younger guys, and then seeing, Rondo, Lance Stevenson, Mike Beasley, those guys added to the mix. It's going to be a lot of fun in LA. I'm really excited. Another team I'm actually super excited to watch is, and I don't think people are really talking about it enough. I don't know if they're going to do really well, but I'm excited to see the Kings. I think with Harry Giles coming back from injury, he never really had a full season. He's been hurt. I think this might be technically his rookie season or something like that. So he's coming back this year, and he looks ridiculous. Talk about a guy that's just like his build. I'm really excited to see how he plays. De'Aaron Fox, Marvin Bagley, of course. So I think that's going to be another team that I'm hoping that, even though they're super young, maybe can make a low push. But like I said, the West is super hard. I'm hoping the Rockets will make some noise. CP3's got to stay healthy. I don't care if he sits out half the season like what Popovich used to do. He used to sit out, he used to sit out Tony, Tim, and Manu. He would switch them off, and, I remember the NBA would get all pissed and fine him for it, but it ended up being something good because he was able to have them last a little bit longer. We can't be having CP3 out, especially when he needs to be there for the playoffs. They might have won if he was playing. So that's a team I'm hoping, I'm rooting for, honestly, with the addition of Melo. I don't know how that's gonna be, but you know what? I'm gonna give it a chance. Pelicans, obviously, super excited. The Warriors, they're probably gonna win it all again. OKC, I've seen Paul George and Russ practicing with each other in the off season. They were looking good, and they really trust each other. So I'm rooting for them as well. who else? The Pacers, Victor Oladipo. I want to see what he's going to bring this season. And yeah, the 76ers. I mean, there's just a bunch of different. I can go on. I mean, I don't want to. I can sit here and literally go and explain why each and every team I'm excited to watch. Minus a select few that I'm just like, I probably won't tune into that game on League Pass. But the Celtics, excited. Brooklyn Nets might surprise people. I mean, the East is completely open right now. The Bulls, got to give the Bulls some love with Jabari Parker, Wendell Carter, Laurie Markkinen. Wow, I was going to completely jack up his name. He went to U of A. So I'm really excited to see just all these teams. There's so much new talent, so many just possibilities, especially in the East right now. It's completely open. But yeah, I'm excited to see everyone. But mainly, I'm going to say I'm really excited for the Suns, and I'm going to be following them very closely this season.
I definitely agree with everything you said. I'm a Pelicans fan, so of course I'm going to be excited to see us and how we adjust without Rondo, having Alfred Payton at the point, in the full year with Mirotic on the team. Well, he started at the 4. We have Anthony Davis at the 5 this year. So, and how we adjust without having Boogie. Golden State, of course, I was upset when Boogie joined Golden State. I'm one of the guys who was against him and Kevin Durant joining them, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see. Toronto, Kawhi Leonard, definitely going to be interested in them, seeing how they play. Boston is the only team I believe right now that has a chance against Golden State. So I think them, if Kyrie and Gordon Hayward stays healthy, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, so much talent on that squad. So yeah, like you said, you can literally go through each team and find reasons why you should watch this team on League Pass. That's what makes the NBA so great, that it's so much talent that's evenly dispersed around the league, except at the top with Golden State, but the rest of the league is kind of evenly dispersed. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I know I kept you over the time I said, but he was having such a good conversation. And before I let you go, please let the people know where they can find you on social media, where they can find all your content.
Yeah, of course. They can find me on Twitter or Instagram. Those are my main two ones, at Ashley Nevel. They can also find me on YouTube and Facebook at Ashley Nevel.
Yes, please go ahead and follow her. Like, she has great interviews. Also, her content, when she's giving her opinion, is awesome as well. One of her videos about LeBron being a GOAT has crazy amount of views and crazy amount of comments. Go check that one out. I definitely watched that one. So all her videos are great. Thank you again for coming on the show. And right now we're going to take a quick commercial break and be right back.
off wet. And for all y'all suckers that don't know, check it out. Some of them try to run, but they can't run like this. Some of them try to run, but they can't run like this. Some of them try to run, but they can't run like this. Some of them try to run, but they can't. Cause I'm gonna make it, make it, make it, make it, Mac Daddy. Make it, make it, make it, make it, Mac. Cause I'm gonna make it, make it, make it, make it, Mac Daddy. Make it, make it, make it, make it, Mac. I make you wanna jump, jump. The Mac Daddy make you jump, jump. A daddy Mac will make you jump, jump. Crisscross will make you jump, jump. Jump, jump. The Mac Daddy make you jump, jump. A daddy Mac will make you jump, jump. Crisscross will make you jump, jump. Jump, jump. The Mac Daddy make you jump, jump. A daddy Mac will make you jump, jump. Crisscross will make you jump, jump. Jump, jump. The Mac Daddy make you jump, jump. A daddy Mac will make you jump, jump. Crisscross will make you jump, jump. Believe it.
Welcome back to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. Definitely got to give a big thank you to Ashley Nevel for doing that interview with me. Please make sure you check her out and follow her at Ashley Nevel on all platforms. She's a beast at what she does. Now let's get into NFL Week 3. Let's recap it. First, we had Thursday night. The Cleveland Browns got their first win in quite a long time as they beat the Jets 21-17. They're now 1-1-1. The Jets fell to 1-2. Baker Mayfield came in for injured Tyrod Taylor and had 17 for 23, 201 yards. Carlos Hyde had 23 carries for 96 yards and 2 touchdowns. Sam Darnold struggled a little bit, 15 for 31, 169 yards, 2 interceptions. As the Jets let a lead slip away, and Baker Mayfield has now become a legend. That fast. He's a legend already because he gave Cleveland their first win in quite a while. Want people to pump the brakes just a little bit. It was a great performance. It does feel like the play calling was a lot better as well when Baker came in. Don't know what that's about. It seemed like it was just everything worked better once Baker came in the game. So, yeah, it's looking up for Cleveland. The Jets, Sam Darnold still has a long way to go. He's a rookie. It happens. Their defense looks pretty good, except for when Baker came in. But Cleveland's for real, man. Cleveland could legitly be 3-0 right now. Legitly. They came back against Pittsburgh. Field goal kicker missed it. Against the Saints, my Saints, their field goal kicker left 8 points on the board. So when you think about that, they should legitly be 3-0. Really good defense. Talent all around. Can Baker lead them to a winning record? We'll see, man. For the next matchup, we had the Saints. Who that said they gonna beat them Saints? Defeat the Atlanta Falcons 43-37 in an overtime thriller. The Saints are now 2-1. Atlanta has fell to 1-2. Drew Brees went 39 for 49 for 396 yards, 3 TDs, and 2 rushing touchdowns. On his first rushing touchdown, he looked like he was 39 years old. He might have hit the slowest spin move in history. He was like, but somehow he got away from the defenders and dove into the end zone. So shout out to him for that. Our defense still has a long way to go as Matt Ryan was killing it. He went 26 for 35, 374 yards, 5 touchdowns. Calvin Ridley had 7 receptions for 141 yards and 3 touchdowns himself. Seemed like whatever side Marshawn Lattimore was on, the Saints' outstanding young cornerback, Atlanta just went to the opposite side. First half he was taking Julio Jones. Calvin Ridley went off. Second half, we put him on Ridley. That's when Julio Jones started getting his touches. We have to fix that. And then one of our cornerbacks got hurt, Patrick Robinson. Hopefully a speedy recovery, but he broke his ankle. So that makes the situation even worse. Ken Crawley and PJ Williams are out there getting destroyed. So the Saints still have a long way to go, but when you have Drew Brees playing at this level, no interceptions yet this year. If it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes, he'd be the MVP favorite right now. You still have a team that can contend, but that defense definitely has to improve. It took them a few weeks last year to get into the groove as a defense. Hopefully this year they can find that groove as well, but it does look a little bit worse this year. For the next matchup, we had Baltimore defeat the Denver Broncos 27-14. They're now 2-1. Denver fell to 2-1. Joe Flacco went 25 for 40, 277 yards, 1 touchdown. Case Keenum went 22 for 34, 108 92 yards, excuse me, and 1 interception. And this is one thing that I feared for Case Keenum going into the situation. Denver has a good defense, but not great right now. Potential to be great with, Von Miller, and also having the outstanding linebacker that's a rookie out of North Carolina State, I believe, this year. So they have potential to be there, but they're not there yet. And when you have an average QB like Keenum, you need a great defense like Minnesota had last year. But we'll see going forward how they can adjust. Baltimore, if you're going to use Lamar Jackson, use him for a full series. Don't bring him out there for plays where it's obviously going to be a run. I don't like that little wrinkle they're trying to do. Just have Joe Flacco out there. He's definitely the better quarterback right now. So, see, Baltimore could be a pretty good team this year. We'll see going forward. For the next matchup, we had the Carolina Panthers defeat the Cincinnati Bengals 31-21. Carolina's now 2-1. Cincinnati is 2-1 as well. Cam Newton with 15 for 24, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey, 28 carries, 184 yards. So he's proven he could be a workhorse. Andy Dalton, 29 for 46, 352 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 4 interceptions. And this is the type of data Andy Dalton can have. Something that you worry about with Andy Dalton. He's someone who's very inconsistent, just like a one-hit wonder. He's made it to the playoffs a few times, but he doesn't have that big one hit yet. So he's not even a one-hit wonder yet. But we're going to get into our next one-hit wonder song, and we'll be right back.
You go through all the pain in this life until you're back.
Welcome back to Real Deal with Damian Adams. Hopefully you enjoyed that trip down memory lane with Bop by Hanson. Song came out in 1997. Yes, we are all getting old, ladies and gentlemen. For the next game, we had the Giants defeat the Houston Texans 27-22. The Giants are now 1-2. The Texans are 0-3. Eli Manning went 25 for 39, 297 yards and 2 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley had 17 carries for 82 yards and 1 touchdown. Odell Beckham had 9 receptions for 109 yards. Deshaun Watson went 24 for 40, 385 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. And his big receiver was Will Fuller, who had 5 receptions for 101 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, the big thing that stands out to me from this game is, where is the Houston defense? We've been hearing about the offensive line struggles for the Giants all season. You figure a defense like Houston with Jadeveon Clowney and J.J. Watt and Merciless and all these names would be able to destroy that offensive line. Is J.J. Watt still elite, or has all the injuries caught up to him? You know, it's definitely haven't heard his name yet this year as far as making an impact. So maybe it's time where it's really, he's no longer that guy. He's not on the Khalil Mack level of impact anymore. There's something to look out for from that game going forward. For the next matchup, we had Tennessee defeat Jacksonville 9-6. Real stinker right there. They're now 2-1. Jacksonville fell to 2-1. Marcus Mariota went 12 for 18 for 100 yards, just killing it. Blake Bortles went 21 for 34, 155 yards. Just draped in mediocrity, reading those stats off. And for Jacksonville, it's just confusing, man. This team wants to take the next step. You have to be able to beat teams that know you. I understand that Tennessee and Jacksonville are division rivals. They know each other very well. So that's probably why, Jacksonville has a great defense. Tennessee has a pretty good defense. So it's going to be hard to score against teams that know you so well. But for Jacksonville to be elite, they have to be able to do that. And Blake Bortles has to be more consistent. He looked like a freaking Hall of Famer against New England the past week, but comes against Tennessee and can't produce at all without that running game. But Leonard Fournette is coming back this week for Jacksonville. Tennessee, I just don't believe in this team at all. I just never have. They never give you that evidence, that oomph of a good team. So we'll see going forward how they adjust. For the next matchup, we had Kansas City defeat San Francisco 38-27. Kansas City is now 3-0. San Francisco is 1-2. Patrick Mahomes went 24 for 38 for 319 yards and 3 touchdowns. Travis Kelce had 8 receptions for 114 yards. Jimmy Garoppolo went 20 for 30, 257 yards and 2 touchdowns before tearing his ACL. Now, a lot of people are really piling on him today, saying that he should have just went out of bounds. He tore his ACL trying to make a move while right next to the sideline with a defender right there. So obviously, hindsight says you should have went out of bounds. Even foresight, right? I'm not going to pile on him too much. It's definitely going to be a lesson learned. Hopefully he comes back strong next year. You could say he was being a bit headstrong. And that takes us into our next one-hit wonder. We'll be right back.
See you later. I see your fantasy. inside, and your decision to hide. Back up, I'll take you on. Headstrong to take on anyone. I know that you are wrong. Headstrong or headstrong. Back up, I'll take you on. Headstrong to take on anyone. I know that you are wrong. If this is not where you belong.
Welcome back to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. Hopefully you enjoyed Headstrong by Trapped. Classic one-hit wonder right there. Now let's get back into Week 3's action. Another matchup we had was Miami defeating Oakland 28-20. Miami is now 3-0. Oakland is 0-3. Ryan Tannehill went 17 for 23, 283 yards and 3 touchdowns. Albert Wilson had 2 receptions for 74 yards, making big plays. Derek Carr, 27 for 39, 345 yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions. So for Oakland, your defense is old. Offensively, you're not producing in the second half. John Gruden isn't worried about winning right now. Sorry for Raiders fans. You're definitely not going to be a contender this year. You trade away a player like Khalil Mack for draft picks because you want to rebuild. The question is Derek Carr the guy to help you rebuild and get to that level you want to be? Or do you find out a quarterback? And if you're going to find out a quarterback, you should have kept Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack by himself has better stats than the Oakland's defense, period. By himself. That's just... And if John Gruden says one more time you need to find pass rushing, somebody should bust him upside his head. Just real quick. Just bust him real quick. Because you had pass rushing, dog. You had it right there in your locker room. Pay the man. You had it. For the next matchup, absolute shocker. I wonder if this is a one-hit wonder. Buffalo defeating Minnesota 27-6. Buffalo is now 1-2. Minnesota is 1-1. Minnesota was favored by 17 points at home against Buffalo. Remember, Buffalo got blown out the first 2 weeks of the season. They literally had a player quit at halftime of a game, like he was in the middle of his shift at McDonald's. He said, "F it, I'm out." And they came into this game against Minnesota and just dominated. Josh Allen looked really good, really fearless. He needs to learn from Jimmy Garoppolo's injury and get out of bounds, maybe slide down sometimes. But he's young, he's going to learn. Josh Allen went 15 for 22, 196 yards, a touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns. Kirk Cousins went 40 for 55, 296 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. One thing that worries me about Minnesota is that last year, one of their strengths was running the ball. Even when Dalvin Cook got hurt, they were able to run the ball, do play action. This year, the running game isn't working as well. And one of the reasons that you think, or a lot of people thought that Kirk Cousins is going to work out there, is that running game was going to give him play action. He does have weapons. He's really got a good connection with Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs right now. He's passing the ball well, but you need that running game to keep the defense off the field, because no matter how good your defense is, if they get tired, that level of effectiveness is going to go down dramatically. So with Minnesota, they need to find that running game. Hopefully Dalvin Cook is healthy for this Thursday matchup against the Rams. For the next matchup, we had Washington defeat Green Bay 31-17. Washington is now 2-1. Green Bay is 1-1. Alex Smith went 12 for 20, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Adrian Peterson finding that fountain of youth, 19 carries, 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers, another classic Aaron Rodgers day, 27-44, 265 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, of course, a big thing from this game is that Clay Matthews got flagged for another roughing the passer penalty and what looked like a regular football hit. Now, one of my favorite people to listen to who also does podcasts and used to have a radio show is Bomani Jones. And one of his lines that he always says about football is that you cannot make a cigarette safer. At the end of the day, if you want to play tackle football, it's still going to be tackle football. And one of the reasons that we marvel at these quarterbacks is not just their arm strength or their decision making, is the fact that they can throw the football with a linebacker or a defensive end or defensive tackle coming down on them, barreling in their face. If you take away that fear by making it to where defensive linemen can't even hit them anymore, that takes away one of the reasons that we watch, one of the reasons that we admire, one of the reasons that we marvel at these quarterbacks. They're football players too. Now I understand you have to protect the stars of the game. And it sucked last year when Aaron Rodgers got hurt. But that's part of football. It's still football at the end of the day. So they're treating these quarterbacks like Barbie dolls. And I really hate it. But that does bring me to my next one-hit wonder. Hopefully you enjoy it. We'll be right back.
Hiya, Bobby.
Hi, Ken.
You want to go for a ride?
Sure, Ken.
Jump in.
I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world. Life in plastic, it's fantastic. You can brush my hair, undress me everywhere. Imagination, life is your creation.
Barbie, let's go party.
I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world. Life in plastic, it's fantastic. You can brush my hair, undress me everywhere. Imagination, life is your creation. I'm a blonde single girl in a fantasy world. Dress me up, make it tight, I'm your darling.
You're my doll, rock and roll. Feel the glamour and thing. Kiss me here, touch me there. Hanky panky.
You can touch, you can play. If you say I'm always yours. I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world. Life is plastic, it's fantastic. You can brush my hair, undress me everywhere. Imagination, life is your creation.
Come on, Barbie, let's go party.
Yeah.
Come on, Barbie, let's go party. Come on, Barbie, let's go party. Come on, Barbie, let's go party.
Make me walk, make me talk, do whatever you please. I can act like a star, I can beg on my knees.
Come jump in, bimbo friend, let us do it again. Hit the town, fool around, let's go party.
You can touch, you can play. If you say I'm always yours. You can touch, you can play. If you say I'm always yours.
Come on, Barbie, let's go party.
Yeah.
Come on, Barbie, let's go party. Come on, Barbie, let's go party. Come on, Barbie, let's go party.
I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world. Life is plastic, it's fantastic. You can brush my hair, undress me everywhere. Imagination, life is your creation. I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world. Life is plastic, it's fantastic. You can brush my hair, undress me everywhere. Imagination, life is your creation.
Come on, Barbie, let's go party.
Yeah.
Come on, Barbie, let's go party. Come on, Barbie, let's go party. Come on, Barbie, let's go party.
Oh, I'm having so much fun.
Well, Barbie, we're just getting started.
Oh, I love you, Ken.
Welcome back to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. You probably are sitting there like, I can't believe he just played Barbie Girl by Aqua. But that's what the treatment of these quarterbacks made me think of. You treat them like Barbie girls. Let's stop it. All right? And you know you probably was jamming a little bit just now. You was jamming. Ooh, ooh. Let's move on to the next matchup. We had the LA Rams defeat the LA Chargers in the Battle of Los Angeles, 35-23. The Rams are now 3-0. The Chargers are 1-2. Jared Goff went 29 for 36, 354 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Ty Gurley had 23 carries for 105 yards, 1 touchdown. Robert Woods had 10 receptions for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns. Phillip Rivers for the Chargers went 18 for 30, 226 yards and 2 touchdowns. This Rams team looks unstoppable, man. They have everything you want. Offense, defense, special teams. They're stacked. We'll see going forward if they have any real challenges going into the Super Bowl. But they still have the Vikings, Saints, Panthers. NFC is stacked. So we'll see, man. But the Rams definitely look unstoppable right now. For the next matchup, we had the Chicago Bears pull out a tough victory over the Cardinals. A lot tougher than I thought it would be. They won 16-14 as they now are 2-1. The Cardinals fell to 0-3. Mitch Trubisky went 24 for 35, 220 yards, 1 interception. Jordan Howard had 24 carries for 61 yards and 1 touchdown. Sam Bradford went 13 for 19, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, which brought in Josh Rosen, who had a little struggling there. That sounds horrible. He struggled a little bit, excuse me. And that's expected. You brought him in the fourth quarter for his first play action. That's a little rough there. But my concern is for Chicago. Have an excellent defense led by Khalil Mack. Their defense was good last year. You added Khalil Mack. You added Roquan Smith. So you have great talent on the defensive side. The offensive side, there's talent there. But that talent can only go so far if the quarterback isn't able to get those players the ball. And Mr. Trubisky just doesn't look like he has it. I'm not going to say he's a bust, but he's definitely not going to live up to being the first quarterback picked in a draft where Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes were picked behind him. He's never going to be on those guys' level, in my opinion. Those guys already at this stage have just a general awareness that Mr. Trubisky does not have. There's times where Trubisky's running around and you're like, there was no pressure. Why are you running? One play that stood out for me, not in this game, but the previous game on Monday Night Football, they did a read option. He has the first down. The tight end's blocking the guy to the outside. Instead of running to the inside getting the first down, he runs to the outside where the tight end is blocking the guy to. So there's just lack of awareness. Accuracy is an issue. He has a lot of things to work on. But that defense is going to carry this team. For Arizona, it's the Josh Rosen era. This team isn't good. Unfortunately, I live here in the Arizona area, so all my Cardinals fans who may be listening, sorry. But it's going to be a long year this year. Long year. For the next matchup, we have Seattle, who defeated Dallas 24-13. They're now 1-2. Dallas fell to 1-2. Russell Wilson went 16 for 26, 192 yards, 2 touchdowns. Chris Carson, 32 carries, 102 yards, 1 touchdown. Dak Prescott went 19 for 34, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. And Ezekiel Elliott, he had 1 touchdown, for Dak Prescott. Ezekiel Elliott had 16 carries, 127 yards. Dallas, do you want to call Dez Bryant? Do you want to try to get Jason Witten out of retirement? You need something. Tavon Austin isn't doing it. Dak Prescott has proven to be good when he has the great offensive line, great running game, and weapons. He needs all those complementary parts. He's not an Aaron Rodgers, a Drew Brees, a Tom Brady, where they can uplift other players. He's not on that level. So you need to get him some weapons. For Seattle, they played a Dallas team that's not that good. Honestly, I don't think Seattle's going to be good this year either. So I don't see a bright future for either team this year. For the next matchup, speaking of those Patriots with Tom Brady, Detroit beat them 26-10. They're now 1-2. New England fell to 1-2. 2 losses in a row by double-digit points for the first time since 2002. Matthew Stafford went 27 for 36, 262 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Detroit controlled the ball for 39 minutes versus 20 minutes for New England. That's a very telling stat in this game, especially when you look at Tom Brady's stats. He only had 26 passing attempts. So when you look at that, you're like, how do you only get that many? Because they didn't have the ball. So not only is Detroit was able to control the game through their running of Kerryon Johnson, but they were able to keep Tom Brady off the field by getting him off the field on 3 and outs. They don't have the weapons on the outside. But I do have a friend of mine, Bakari, who brought up a good point. When it was Jimmy Garoppolo or Kobe Brissett out there with these weapons, they were able to make it work. Tom Brady without the weapons is not able to make it work right now. So are we starting to see the end of Tom Brady? Because he's an elite quarterback, he's supposed to be able to, throw these guys open and do the things that Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees can do. But maybe he's starting to get over that cliff that, Max Kellerman always eloquently points out. But one guy they do need is Josh Gordon. They need him to come back strong off the hamstring. He definitely can stretch the field and open up a space for everybody else. Even though that Chris Hogan should be able to do that. He can't do it by himself. So if Josh Gordon gets back, they'll be all right. One thing that Josh Gordon has to do is not get high. So let's listen to our next one-hit wonder speaking on that subject.
Roll another blunt. Yeah. Oh, good. La da 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 da. La da da. La da da da. La da da da. La da da da. Yeah. I was gonna clean my room until I got high. I was gonna get up and find the broom, but then I got high. My room is still messed up, and I know why. Why, man? Yeah, cause I got high. Because I got high. Because I got high. La da 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 da. I was gonna go to class before I got high. Come on, y'all. Check it out. I could have cheated and I could have passed, but I got high. I'm taking it next semester, and I know why. Why, man? Yeah, cause I got high. Because I got high. Because I got high. Go to the next. Go to the next. Go to the next. I was gonna go to court before I got high. I was gonna pay my child support, but then I got high. No, you wasn't. They took my whole paycheck, and I know why. Why, man? Yeah, cause I got high. Because I got high. Because I got high. La da 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 da. I wasn't gonna run from the cops, but I was high. I'm serious, man. I was gonna pull right over and stop, but I was high. La da da. Now I'm a paraplegic, and I know why. Why, man? Yeah, cause I got high. Because I got high. Because I got high. La da 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 da. I was gonna make love to you, but then I got high. I'm serious. I was gonna eat your pussy too, but then I got high. Now I'm jacking off, and I know why. Turn this shit off. Yeah, because I got high. Hey, go. Because I got high. Hey, do that over, because man. I got high. Come on, man. Come on. Go. I messed up my entire life because I got high. Go. I lost my kids and wife because I got high. Say what? Say what? Say what? Say what? Now I'm sleeping on the sidewalk, and I know why. Why, man? Yeah, cause I got high. Because I got high. Because I got high. La da 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 da. I'ma stop singing this song because I'm high. President, baby, I'm singing this whole thing wrong because I'm high. Bring it back, bring it back. And if I don't sell one copy, I'll know why. Why, man? Yeah, hey, cause I'm high. Cause I'm high. Cause I'm high. Are you really high though, man? La da 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 da. He really is high, man. Shoot, shoot, shooby doo wah. Get jiggy with it. Skippity bee.
Welcome back to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. If I get these picks wrong on these games, I'm going to just say it's because I got high. The crazy thing about that song is, I remember I was a kid when it came out and it got banned off the radio. And if you actually listen to the song, he's telling you not to get high. He messed up his entire life because he got high. He lost his kids and wife because he got high. So sometimes we need to listen to the actual song before we go crazy about what's going on and actually listen to what's being said. But for the final matchup of the weekend, we had Pittsburgh survive against Tampa Bay 30-27. They're now 1-1-1. Tampa Bay fell to 2-1. Ben Roethlisberger went 30 for 38, 353 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 pick. You had Juju Smith-Schuster with 9 receptions for 116 yards. Ryan Fitzpatrick threw for 400 yards once again, but this time it was because he had to, because he put them behind. He had 3 interceptions in the first half, 1 was returned for a pick 6. And I saw how they were trying to break down how the interceptions weren't his fault, just one of them. But on the interception where they're in the red zone about to score, a blitzer comes free, right? When the blitzer comes free, he tries to throw a hot route behind the blitzer, but throws it straight at him. The ball bounces off his helmet and goes to a Steelers player for an interception. If he pump fakes, rolls out, maybe he has someone else open, throws the ball away, you left for another down. Take a sack. So I understand the offensive line messed up on that play, but that interception is still on him. For the other interception that, the analysts tried to put off on the team, to do a play action, Mike Evans doesn't run the route all the way that he expects him to run. Ryan Fitzpatrick has to see that. Understand Mike Evans is at fault as well, but Mike Evans saw a hole in the zone, sat down. You're always told to sit down in a hole in the zone. So when he turns around, he has to see that Mike Evans is sitting in that hole in the zone and not anticipate him going there. You also have to know the coverage, Ryan Fitzpatrick. So I think all 3 interceptions were on him. This is what we expected to see. Now, of course, the big question going forward is who's going to start Week 4. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick should start against Chicago in Week 4. If he plays bad or just okay, then you give it to Jameis Winston when you come back up to bye week for Week 6. I think it'll be a perfect time to have extra time to get him ready, get him prepared, ready to go. Ryan Fitzpatrick has done a good job in being a substitute teacher pretty much and been excellent, but he's not someone who's a hit maker. He's a guy who's had a couple hits, and this is by far his biggest hit. You could say this would be his one hit if he was a one-hit wonder guy. So now let's move on to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh survived this game. They were up 30-10 at halftime and won 30-27. Didn't score at all in the second half. This team has all talent in the world. But of course they got the drama, right? Antonio Brown last week getting upset, had the tweet where he's like, you can trade me if you want to. And he didn't want to get traded. He was just telling the guy who tweeted that, he could be successful anywhere, which I do believe. I do believe that Antonio Brown is not successful because of Big Ben. Big Ben's career has been extended by Antonio Brown's excellence, if you ask me. He hasn't been an elite quarterback for a while, especially on the road. He's been horrible on the road. So Antonio Brown's really helped him out. When you could throw a little quick screen pass to Antonio Brown, he could just make a defender miss and take it all the way to a score. That's not on Big Ben. Any quarterback in the league can do that. That's on Antonio Brown making that play happen. So that PR guy, or former PR guy who tweeted that Antonio Brown's lucky to have Big Ben is totally wrong. But Antonio Brown didn't need to respond to it. He should have just left it alone. Le'Veon Bell on the trading block. Who should trade for him? And what should you pay him? Right? Because he wants, 15, 16 million a year, guaranteed for 3 years pretty much. He is worth it, right? When you think about his impact on, I've talked about this before. I think that all-purpose running backs should get paid more than star wide receivers because they touch the ball up to or over 400 times a game. So the Colts, they need Le'Veon Bell. The Jets, they need a running back, but they're not in contention right now. San Francisco would have needed him before Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt. You're not going to do anything with C.J. Beathard, even if you have Le'Veon Bell at running back. But I do think the Colts should trade for him. The Jets should try to try. I'm just struggling today like I'm high. But they should try to sign him. They should try to get him. And someone's going to have to pay that price tag. I know Le'Veon Bell's out here living his best life. Hopefully he's in shape. I've heard some reports that he's not. But hopefully he's in shape, ready to go once that trade is made. Because James Conner is definitely doing a good job in replacement of him. So Pittsburgh's probably not tripping. They're like, oh, let's trade him and get a draft pick for him or whatever. And I think they could probably get a 3rd round pick at the highest because of the situation. So now let's move on to our Week 4 predictions. Thursday night we have the Vikings at the Rams. Now the Vikings, of course, are coming off the horrible defeat at the hands of the Buffalo Bills. They're going to be looking to come back strong. They probably were overlooking that game, looking towards this one. They better come out strong, but I still got LA winning 27-20. I believe their all-around game, even with the injuries to Akeem Talib and Marcus Peters, they're going to have some trouble stopping Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. But again, you can't just pass the ball. You need to be able to run the ball. Dalvin Cook is still unsure if he can play or not. Latavius Murray is a capable running back, but if you're getting behind by 20-plus points early, you're not going to be able to run the ball anyway. So I got the Rams winning that one. For the next matchup, we have the Jets at the Jags. The Jets' offense is not there yet. You're going against a great defense in the Jaguars. Blake Bortles is going to play better because he goes up and down. I got Jacksonville winning 17-7. Next matchup, we got Miami at New England. Very interesting matchup here. Very interesting. New England needs to win this game. Miami's 3-0 right now, sitting pretty. But of course, they would love to stick it to New England, give them 3 losses in a row, put them behind them by 3 games. That would be major. I'm going with New England, and I don't really have a real reason why, just out of, repetition and belief that this team is not going to be bad. But if they lose this game to Miami, then we have to really start taking a serious look at, is this team good? Right? They fall at 1-3. It's like, ugh. They better get Josh Gordon out there. For the next matchup, we have Philadelphia at Tennessee. I already said previously that I'm not a believer in the Tennessee Titans. Philadelphia should win this game 21-13. Next matchup, we have Houston at the Colts. Houston's defense doesn't look like the defense that we thought it would be. We already knew the offensive line would struggle. So I got the Colts winning 20-17. Next matchup, Buffalo at Green Bay. Ooh. Buffalo, are you a one-hit wonder? Can you prove to us that you are legitimately a good team and Minnesota just didn't take you lightly? This is a good test right here. Green Bay definitely shouldn't take Buffalo lightly after seeing what they did to Minnesota. So it's going to be very interesting to see how both of these teams bounce back. I got Green Bay winning 28-17. So before we get into our, remaining matchups, we're going to play another one-hit wonder. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the trip down memory lane, and we'll be right back.
All the time.
Welcome back to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. That one goes out to all my party girls. Party All the Time by Eddie Murphy. So he definitely wasn't a one-hit wonder when it came to his movies or his comedy. But when it came to music, it was just that one hit, baby. So for the next matchup, Detroit at Dallas this week. I'm going Detroit 24-16. I think Detroit will carry his momentum over beating New England going forward. Dallas, not that good. Defense is ordinary. Offense is even extraordinary. For the next matchup, we have Tampa Bay at Chicago. Like I said, I believe that Ryan Fitzpatrick should start in this game, but I think he will struggle against Khalil Mack in that defense. Chicago will win 20-17, but it definitely will not be because of Mitchell Trubisky. For the next matchup, we have Cincinnati at Atlanta. I got Cincinnati winning 28-27. If Andy Dalton could take care of the ball, they will win this game. If he would have took care of the ball against Carolina, they would have won that game. Atlanta has so many injuries, and they just can't stop anybody right now. I think Cincinnati will take advantage of that and win this matchup. For the next one, we have Seattle at Arizona. I'm going with Seattle. This is a matchup of two just not great teams. I'm definitely not going to be in the house to watch it. So I'm going Seattle 20-16. For the next matchup, we have Cleveland at Oakland. I'm going with Cleveland 28-21 to win their first game on a Sunday in forever. I think they haven't won on a Sunday since Johnny Manziel was starting. So this is going to be a very big matchup for them. Oakland just don't believe in offensively. Defensively, they're too old. Can't get a rush. So they're not going to be able to put pressure on Baker Mayfield. He'll be able to exploit that. Next matchup. Who that said they going to beat them Saints? The Saints go into New York to face the Giants. The Giants look good against the Texans, but the Texans don't look good at all. Playing against a quality team like the Saints, we will see those flaws exposed again, and the Saints will win 30-20. Next matchup, we have the 49ers, who will be led by C.J. Beathard against the Chargers. It won't be pretty. Chargers will win 28-14. Sunday night, we have Baltimore at Pittsburgh. We got Pittsburgh winning 28-24. They're starting to come together. They have to go through the drama first before they start playing well. We all know Pittsburgh's story. Baltimore is a good team. I don't believe Joe Flacco will have the firepower to keep up with Pittsburgh, especially at home. Monday night, we have Kansas City at Denver. Don't believe in Denver because I don't believe in Case Keenum. Looks like Patrick Mahomes is the real deal. No pun intended there. They win 28-20, they being the Chiefs. So just to recap my predictions, I have Rams over Vikings, Jags over Jets, Patriots over Miami, Philadelphia over Tennessee. I got the Colts over the Texans, Green Bay over Buffalo, Detroit over Dallas, Chicago over Tampa Bay, Cincinnati over Atlanta, Seattle over Arizona, Cleveland over Oakland, the Saints over the Giants. It had the Chargers over the 49ers, Pittsburgh over Baltimore, and Kansas City over Denver. So we're going to get one more last one-hit wonder in before we close the show. This goes out to all the ladies and the men out there. Men, do not cheat. Ladies, if you catch your man cheating, I guess you can follow this advice.
While he was steaming, I was steaming in the beamer, just steaming. Can't believe that I caught my man cheating. So I found another way to make him pay for it all. So I went to Neiman Marcus on a shopping spree. And on the way I grabbed Sully and Mia. And as the cash box rang, I thought everything away. There goes the dreams we used to say. There goes the times we spent away. There goes the love I had, but you cheated on me, and that's for that now. There goes the house we made a home. There goes you'll never leave me alone. For all the lies you told, this is what you own. When your man wanna get buck wild, just go back and hit him up style. Get your hands on his cash and spend until the last time for all the hard times. When you go, then everything goes. down the hill are just a dragon. All his pictures and his clothes and the bagging. Sold everything else till there was just nothing left. And I paid all the bills about a month too late. It's a shame we have to play these games. The love we had just fade away, away. There goes the dreams we used to say. There goes the time we spent away. There goes the love I had. You cheated on me, and that's for that now. There goes the house we made a home. There goes you'll never leave me alone. What were the lies you told? This is what you owe. Years of wild. Just go back and hit 'em up style. Put your hands on his cash and spend until the last time for all the hard times. Everything goes from the crib to the line and the post. So you better let him know that if he mess up, you gotta hit him up. Hey ladies, just go back and hit 'em up style. Put your hands on his cash and spend until the last time for all the hard times. Everything goes from the crib to the line and the post. So you better let him know that if you mess up, you gotta hit him up. All of the dreams you sold left me out in the cold. What happened to the days when we used to trust each other? And all of the things I sold will take you until you get old. To get 'em back without me, 'cause vengeance better than money, you see. Just go back and hit 'em up style. Cash and
Yes, that was Blue Cantrell with Hit 'em Up Style. Just a reminder to the men out there, don't be cheating. Because you could get caught up with someone crazy like her, alright? But we're going to play one more one hit wonder before I go out, man. Because I feel like you need to, just get hit with some smoothness before I go out. And this is one of my favorite one hit wonders right here. About to go ahead and get into it. And then I'll be right back.
So tight, so fine. You got me lifted. You got me lifted. Got me lifted, shifted higher than the ceiling. And ooh, it's the ultimate feeling. You got me lifted, feeling so gifted. Sugar, how you get so fly? Sugar, 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 sugar, how you get so fly?
Together when we ride, we're bringing raw high. Doing what we do, watching screens getting high. Girl, you keep it so fly with your sweet honey buns. You was there when the money gone, you be there when the money comes. Off top, I can't lie, I love to get blow. With my little sugar, I'm your little chulo. And every time we kick it, it's all to the groovy. Treat you like my sticky icky or my sweet ooey gooey. For real
Got
now.
me lifted, shifted higher than the ceiling. And ooh, it's the ultimate feeling. You got me lifted, feeling so gifted. Sugar, how you get so fly? Sugar, 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 sugar, how you get so fly?
I ain't worried about a thing, 'cause I just hit me a lick. I got a fat sack and a super fly chicken. If I ain't acting, you could say to a player. 'Cause do I? She fly like the planes in the air. That's right, she full grown, setting the wrong tone. I'm digging the energy and I'm loving her ozone. So fly like a dove, fly like a raven. Quick to politic with some fly conversation in a natural mood. And I'm a natural dude, and we some natural fools blowing out by the pool. She like my sexy cool mama, blaze on the Bravada, rockin' Doja Cubana, hydro and Aquana.
Lifted, shifted higher than the ceiling. And ooh, it's the ultimate feeling. You got me lifted, feeling so gifted. Sugar, Sugar, how you get so fly? 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 Sugar, sugar, how you get so fly?
It's together when we ride, wood grain and raw hide. Doing what we do, watching screens, getting high. Girl, you keep it so fly with your sweet honey buns. You was there when the money gone, you be there when the money come. You know it's together when we ride, wood grain and raw hide. Doing what we do, watching screens, getting high. Girl, you keep it so fly with your sweet honey buns. You was there when the money gone, you be there when the money comes. For real though.
Got me lifted, shifted higher than the ceiling, and only it's the ultimate feeling. You got me lifted, feeling so gifted. Sugar, how you get so fly? Sugar, 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 sugar, how you get so fly?
So high like I'm a star. 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 I'm so high.
Welcome back. That was Sugar Sugar by Baby Bash featuring Frankie J. Another classic right there, one hit wonder. Alright, so this is it. Okay, I'm gonna do one more song, then I'm gonna let y'all go. I know I've been talking for a long time. Appreciate you guys holding out with me. This is the last one hit wonder, and then I'm gonna close out the show, alright?
Very special, really and truly.
was Wayne Wonder, No Letting Go. Okay, there's so many more songs I want to play, but I gotta let you guys go. I know you guys have been listening to me talk for over 2 hours now. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode and had a lot of fun with me. I really enjoy doing these one-hit wonders, man. So until next time, go real or go home. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, The Real Deal with Damian Adams. Share with your friends. Follow me at The Real Deal WDA. That's The Real Deal W as in whiskey, D as in Delta, A as in Alpha. Peace.